Bonjour and welcome to French Action. I have a letter for you to be corrected and I will give you my corrections and see if you have the same. Vous êtes prêts? C'est parti! Here are the instructions. You are planning to go to Paris on a holiday with your family. Write to the tourist board to find out the best places to visit based on your family's interests, how to get around Paris, and the list of events that will take place during your stay. And at this point, I would like to say a big thank you to my student for allowing me to use her letter, which was part of her homework. And this is what I'm using to help her and to help you to make fewer mistakes. Here's the letter that my student wrote. I'm not going to read it, but I'm going to ask you to pause the video so that you can read it and make your own corrections. Correction number 1, there is no date and there's no subject either. Please don't forget the date and also the subject of your letter. It is a formal letter. Correction number 2, how you address people is very important. My student put Madame Directrice, it should be Madame la Directrice. So for example, if you're talking about a president, Monsieur le Président. So you need to remember your articles. Correction number 3, don't beat about the bush. You just need to state clearly what you want and you need to avoid things, oh, I can't wait to be in France. I'm so happy to go to France. They're not interested in that. They want to know what exactly they have to do. There are many repetitions in this letter and I spotted them. So, for example, Paris is repeated 4 times, ma famille 3 times, pouvez-vous 2 times, vacances 2 times, semaine 2 times. I think that there's too many repetitions and you can really remove them. Repetitions is not good for any French exams. Correction number 5. You need to be careful what you say. You can't be talking about the sea in Paris because there's no sea in Paris. The same, you're talking about the fact that you like riding a bike. Okay, but I would expect riding a bike in a place not like Paris. I mean, you could ride a bike in a park in Paris, but is it really what you meant? A tip for you, read over your letter. And it's important to read over your letter to ensure that you don't make silly mistakes. Okay? So for example, check out the verbs. Have you got the right verbs at the right tense? Is it the right person talking? Okay, you can't have plural, a verb in the plural form and yet it's one person doing the action. Check out the adjectives. Have you got the agreements with those adjectives? Check out the articles. Are they missing? Check out the prepositions. Are you using a instead of de or vice versa? Make sure you get the right prepositions. Check out the qui and the que. Very often there's mistakes. When it should be qui, you put que and vice versa. And my last point, beware of the literal translation from English to French. Very often, that's the reason why you make the mistakes, because you translate literally and it just doesn't work. Now you will see the mistakes in red. I'm going to explain why I put the red color in the letter. So, Madame, and when I put an X like that, it means that something is missing. So we have already seen, it's Madame la Directrice. Then, enfin, ma famille et moi vont voyager. If you say ma famille et moi, moi means I, so we're going to use the we form, so we cannot have vont. It should be allons. Ma famille et moi allons voyager à Paris pour, and you need to remember that vacances, which is holiday, is plural. Remember, the French go on a holiday for nearly a month, several, quite a few days. So it will never be singular. And if vacances is plural, notre should change into nos for the plural. À partir du 19 octobre 2024, nous planifions, and here a de is missing, which is the preposition, nous planifions de rester un peu moins d'une semaine. Nous sommes tellement contents et ne pouvons pas attendre. Ne pouvons pas attendre, it's the idea of saying we can't wait. But in French, it just doesn't work. If you say we can't wait, my question would be, you can't wait for what? So it just doesn't work. Je vous écris pour obtenir vous. So here I think you meant vos, V-O-S. Okay, conseil. Dans, you can't have conseil dans, but conseil sur les meilleurs endroits touristiques de Paris. And you can't say par visiter, but à visiter with an accent. J'ai deux frères et les deux adorent not des musées, but les musées et les voitures. Cependant, mon mari et moi, nous sommes intéressés par... Ok, nous sommes intéressés par les cuisines. Or, here I would say par la cuisine et les théâtres français. Ou le théâtre français plus précisément. De plus, ma famille aime faire des vélos. Alors, be careful, because faire des vélos can work if you mean to make bikes. But I think here is different. Faire du vélo is to ride a bike, so be very careful. Et aller à la mer. Pouvez-vous me dire aussi du système? You can't dire du. You can parler du système, expliquer le système, mais not dire du. Then for the next one is quelle est la manière? Manière is feminine, so we're going to have quelle with double L-E. Quelle est la manière de transport? And I didn't understand the rest. Vide means empty. So I'm not sure what you meant there. Mais d'un autre côté, il n'est pas cher pour ma famille. So this is a sentence or questions that you'll have to rewrite, and the question mark is missing. Enfin, and here again you have enfin twice. Pouvez-vous partager la liste des événements qui vont passer? Okay, qui, that will. So, qui vont passer à Paris? En doesn't work here. La même semaine comme notre vacances. This has to be rewritten. Je voudrais la consulter pour faire notre itinéraire. Je vous prie d'agréer, madame, once again, la directrice de l'Office du tourisme, l'expression de mes meilleures salutations. Now I'm going to make my corrections and you will see them in purple. Here I'm correcting the letter, but after this letter I'm going to show you my letter based on what is written here. All right? So we're going to go back to Madame la directrice. Ma famille et moi allons voyager pour nos vacances. And we can't wait is et nous avons hâte d'aller en France. Okay, so I put en France to avoid the repetition of Paris. Je vous écris pour obtenir vos conseils sur les meilleurs endroits touristiques de Paris à visiter. J'ai 2 frères et les 2 adorent les musées et les voitures. Cependant, mon mari et moi, nous sommes intéressés par, and because cuisine was plural, I put les cuisines internationales et les théâtres français. De plus, ma famille aime faire du vélo. And I remove the C completely because there's no C in Paris. Pouvez-vous m'expliquer le fonctionnement du système de transport dans Paris? Quel est le moyen de transport rapide et bon marché pour ma famille? Enfin, pouvez-vous partager la liste des événements qui vont passer à Paris? And then I put dans la même semaine de nos vacances. Je voudrais la consulter pour faire notre itinéraire et le reste is the same. Okay? Here's my version. So I remind you that this is a formal letter, so you need to have the address or your address on the left and the address of l'Office du Tourisme on the right, and I checked the address so that's why I was able to put this address there. And then you skip a line and then you put the date. Very important to put the date, remember? So when you put a date, you have to have the name of the place where you're writing from. In my case, it was Kingston, so I put Kingston, comma, and then the date. Then you have to put the subject of the letter, and that goes on the left. It was just to ask for some information, so I put demande de renseignement. And then the way I'm going to address the people I'm writing to is to say Madame, comma, Monsieur, comma, because I don't know who it is. If you know the person, then you can put the name, but here I'm not sure, so it could be a woman or it could be a man, so I put Madame, Monsieur. So I start, ma famille et moi avons l'intention de passer nos vacances à Paris à partir du 19 octobre 2024 pour 2 semaines pour la première fois. So in this long sentence, I am saying where I'm going, how long for, and when. And I add it pour la première fois, which explains why I'm writing to them. Il y a beaucoup d'informations sur les sites internet, mais j'aimerais avoir vos conseils sur les meilleurs endroits touristiques à visiter dans votre capitale. So basically what I'm saying nowadays, everything is online, but I'm really looking for personal advice. Okay? And here you noticed I put dans votre capitale to avoid the repetition of Paris. So now I start. Mes 2 enfants adorent les musées et les voitures. Quant à mon mari et moi, nous sommes particulièrement intéressés par la gastronomie et le théâtre français. So what I changed here is the fact that in the original letter you had brothers, my 2 brothers. I wanted to say, because I'm talking from like my point of view, so I put my 2 children, okay? My 2 children love museums and cars. Quant à mon mari, as for, quant à, nous sommes particulièrement intéressés par. So you need to remember this construction. And here, I needed to put this because as I put here, in order to receive the right advice, you need to provide the board with further information about yourself, what you like, and what you like doing. So here I started. Je vous serais reconnaissante de bien vouloir me conseiller le meilleur moyen de transport parisien qui soit rapide et bon marché pour nous 4. So this one, I really put it to teach you a construction with je vous serais reconnaissant or je vous serais reconnaissante de bien vouloir. I would be grateful if you could. Now, because I use le meilleur moyen de transport parisien, I need to use the subjunctive because you always have the subjunctive after a superlative, which is meilleur here. So this is a little bit more difficult in terms of construction. It's more complex. But if you didn't know that, you could have just said, pouvez-vous me conseiller le meilleur moyen, etc. Okay? And then I'm going to put enfin because I'm coming to the end of my letter. J'aimerais recevoir la liste des événements qui vont passer pendant notre séjour pour que je puisse établir notre itinéraire. So here again, another complex construction, pour que, so that, plus the subjunctive, okay? So I put notre séjour to avoid the repetition of Paris again. And as you can see here, just to make it a little bit more complex. And the final part, instead of just saying je vous prie, I want to thank them in advance because, you know, it's always nice to thank them so that they can do the work for you. So you would say en vous remerciant par avance, or you could say en vous remerciant d'avance. Je vous prie d'agréer, Madame, Monsieur, mes salutations distinguées. I just put mes salutations distinguées. That is the easiest part. 3 words, mes salutations distinguées, and I put that for everything. So one thing I omitted to say is that you're going to put your name right at the top there, Madame Janet Joe, and then your address, okay. The letter is the same. And then you can just sign because we know the name of the person because we have it at the top. And you need to sign, but be careful you don't sign on the left, you sign on the right. Did you spot the same mistakes? I hope you found the video useful and please like it, share it, and don't forget to subscribe. Au revoir!